Well, good evening, everybody. This is Dave Jones with Storm Center Communications and GeoCollaborate. It's almost 5 o'clock here on the East Coast on Monday, January 20th, 2025. We've been watching a lot of weather developments happening. We have a major winter storm that's developing for the Gulf Coast of Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida. Believe it or not, we have cold Arctic air in place. We're also watching an increase for fire danger, a particularly dangerous situation once again as winds are picking up, those Santa Ana winds in Southern California. We're going to start with Southern California. I do want to show you the satellite picture here and show you what's going on from the big picture. Here's the area of disturbed weather in the Gulf of Mexico that's going to be coming together. You can see the subtropical jet stream feeding into this low pressure that's going to be spinning up in the Gulf of Mexico and then moving along. Meanwhile, very cold air is in place already. I'll show you those temperatures here in just a moment. But take a look over here in California. This is a different angle. This is the goes east look. And we're looking over to California, so it's a little bit distorted. But high pressure is building in now to the east of California. And that has cleared out all of these clouds. No more marine layer because we have an easterly wind, those Santa Anas. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you GeoCollaborate full screen here because I want to show you the fire danger that is been issued by the National Weather Service. Here is Southern California, and this whole area is in an extreme fire danger, extremely critical fire weather area for the San Gabriel Mountains and west towards the Santa Monica Mountains and Santa Susana Mountains. That's including the Malibu coast, and it's a critical fire weather hazard for much of Southern California. That's going to continue here for the next several days as winds begin to pick up. You can already feel those Santa Ana winds if you're living in Southern California picking up. The wildfires, the Eaton fire, and the Palisades fire are not totally contained, so there is the chance that these could once again get out of control. We have rapidly strengthening surface winds. We have decreasing humidities. The onset of critical to extremely critical conditions is expected by this afternoon, with most volatile conditions still expected over the wind-prone Santa Ana corridor of northern and western Los Angeles County. So as I zoom in here a little bit more, here's Los Angeles. So right in here in this pink area, that's where we expect the conditions to become most volatile during the overnight, early morning hours of tomorrow. Extremely critical conditions will persist into Tuesday morning. So we'll be watching this very closely. I wouldn't be surprised to see some of these existing wildfires trying to get out of control once again. Again, they're not fully contained, and we're continuing to monitor them. Additional fires, if they do develop, will have the right conditions to expand rapidly because of those low relative humidities. So this is the way it looks in Southern California. I'm going to show you the NASA satellite picture here. Take a look. This is from this afternoon. No more marine layer. That's been pushed all the way back here to the west. These are low stratus clouds, stratocumulus clouds. Now we have an easterly wind that's drying out the atmosphere and the moisture. Here is Los Angeles. Here is Santa Barbara up the coast here. And this is the whole area that has been under so much stress with the wildfires just north and west of Los Angeles, where the Palisades fire has burned all the way to the coast down to Malibu. So we'll be monitoring this once again, but NASA satellites and NOAA satellites are monitoring what's going on. Now back to GeoCollaborate. I'm going to zoom out here because I've also displayed the winter storm severity index over the next 1 to 3 days. And you can see where this is focusing right now. So in Texas, over Houston, Texas. And let me see if I can put on the legend here. There we go. Anywhere that you see in orange and red, and even in the yellow where it says minor there, it's going to be major along the Gulf Coast. This is a pretty much once in a lifetime, or at least once in a couple of decade type storm here. Anybody who is below basically 20 years old has never experienced this kind of weather, and this could be historic. If we see snowfall totals of 4 to 6 inches extending from Houston all the way through Cameron Parish and into New Orleans and Baton Rouge, this is going to be unprecedented. So this is what the Winter Storm Severity Index is showing. Expect major impacts along any of these routes during the next 1 to 3 days. So we're going to see precipitation starting up. As a matter of fact, let me just go over to the satellite loop here once again and switch the sector a little bit closer into Texas. You can see these are low-level clouds that are spreading north into Texas and over Louisiana right now. Low-level clouds, not a lot of precipitation, but this is the MRMS data bringing together surface observations, radar data, and all that. And you can see precipitation starting up in southern Texas right now. And it is cold enough. It's cold enough to be snowing. As a matter of fact, temperatures along the Gulf Coast are in the 30s, but it's snowing up above where it's colder, not at the surface as of yet. That is going to change as time goes on, but this is precipitation initially beginning to impact the coast of Texas as light rain. But as we switch over to GeoCollaborate, we'll show you the impacts are expected to extend from right around southeast Texas here, north of Brownsville. So Brownsville not impacted, but the Rio Grande Valley will be impacted on up the coastline there towards Houston and Galveston, where this is a significant impact that is forecast over the next 1 to 2 days. Now, Baton Rouge, all of this area here in red, this looks like a major impact expected, and that means very difficult and impossible driving conditions. Remember, they have not experienced this kind of weather for decades, and if it does accumulate, this will be historic. Over 2 inches of snow will be historic this far south. Even along southern Georgia and northern Florida, there could be pockets of ice accretion on the wires that could be 1/10 of an inch, and in some localized areas, 1/4 of an inch of ice, which could cause disruptions of power. But look at this. This extends this area here all the way through just south of Atlanta into southeastern South Carolina, where impacts could be felt from winter weather. And this is certainly a rare instance. I'm going to turn off the Winter Storm Severity Index because I want to turn on all the watches, warnings, and advisories that are in effect. So let me do that by clicking this here in GeoCollaborate, turning all these on, and you can see all these advisories that are going on around the United States. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit more so you can just see the extent of this going on. Look at this. The eastern 2/3 of the United States are under extreme cold advisories, winter storm warnings along the Gulf Coast, and extreme cold watches, cold weather advisories here all the way to the East Coast. Now, what does this mean, all these areas in light blue? It means that the wind chill indexes could get down close to 0 degrees as the wind blows. Even down into northern Louisiana, central Louisiana, when this wind starts blowing, temperatures are going to be below 32 degrees, and winds are going to be gusting to 15, 20 miles per hour. That'll put wind chill indexes in the teens and the low 20s as this snow continues to fall after it develops. So during the day tomorrow, late tonight, during the day tomorrow, we're going to see conditions go downhill rapidly along the Gulf Coast. Now, up towards North Dakota, Minnesota, Nebraska, look at this. They have extreme cold warnings in effect. What does that mean for people who experience this cold much more frequently than anybody else around the country? This means that wind chill indexes could get between 40 and 50 degrees below zero. This is significant because wind chill indexes of 25 degrees below zero or lower can freeze exposed flesh. That's why wind chill indexes really matter. It's very serious. And let's take a look at the temperatures right now around the country. Look at this. Up towards North Dakota, it is 19 degrees below zero. This is actual air temperatures right now. 15 below zero in Minnesota. Around Chicago, single digits. 7 below zero near Milwaukee. Oklahoma City, 14 degrees. Down towards the Gulf Coast already in the mid-30s. 37 degrees. 43 in New Orleans. 39 degrees out in parts of western Florida Panhandle. This is the municipal airport in Andalusia. That is cold weather right now. Let's switch it over to the wind chill indexes. What does that look like? Holy moly, look at this. 44 degrees below zero right now in North Dakota. That is the wind chill index. Basically 0 degrees in Oklahoma. Down towards New Orleans, wind chill index of 30 to 38 degrees in southern Louisiana, and even towards Houston, wind chill indexes in the high 20s to low 30s. Even Brownsville, Texas, 39 degrees as far as their wind chill index is concerned. Look at that. Panhandle of Florida, wind chill index of 33. That's going to get lower, and it's going to get worse over the next several days. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you a little bit of model forecast here because I want to show you how this is going to progress over the next couple of days. And what I did here is I widened out the map because I want you to see where this cold air is coming from. It's coming all the way from basically the Arctic Circle. You can see up here. So let me orient you. Here is the United States right here. See, there's Florida right here. Here's Washington State and Seattle here. Here is Alaska right up here and the Aleutian Islands. And over here is Greenland. This is Greenland right here. All of this is Canada up here. So I'm going to start to put this in motion so you can see where this cold air is coming from. Look at it rotating around and dropping down and spreading out across the country. This is pretty amazing. But what I also want you to notice is look up here in Alaska. Alaska is very warm right now. As a matter of fact, temperatures well above freezing yesterday in Alaska. Well, let's go check it right now. Let's go over here back to the U.S. and let's go up here to Alaska and check out what their temperatures are currently. This is very warm for Alaska right now. Look at this. 32 degrees in Anchorage. It's 19 degrees in Fairbanks. Yesterday, around Anchorage, it was in the high 40s, and even southwest of Anchorage, it was in the low 50s for temperature. Now I'm going to go back over to the models data that I was showing you. This piece of air, this large piece of Arctic air, was all the way up towards the North Pole. But because there are warm temperatures up here, it's squeezing that cold air and kind of pinching it off and forcing it to go south. All because this is abnormally warm here. So yes, even with warming temperatures, global warming that you're hearing, this can be responsible for very cold temperatures down here in the United States. It's not going to last, but it's going to last long enough to impact critical infrastructure, perhaps even breaking water pipes in many businesses and homes in the South. And unfortunately, cold temperatures below freezing are going to persist for more than 36 to 48 hours in some locations. So this is what it looks like this morning with the cold air diving in. And so watch as we progress into tomorrow afternoon and look at this cold air all along the Gulf Coast. Because we have a strong low pressure that's going to be moving along the Gulf of Mexico, that's going to give enough moisture to produce quite a bit of snowfall in places like Houston, Galveston, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, all the way over to Mobile, Alabama. A winter storm warning there with snow accumulating, perhaps 3 to 5 inches of snow where heavier bands set up in this storm. But as we continue this on into Wednesday afternoon, you can see the cold air kind of breaking up. It's still cold down here in the Gulf of Mexico and in the mid-Atlantic states, still very, very cold. Temperatures down around 0 at night in the mid-Atlantic. And then that cold air gets a little reinforcement, you can see, along the Gulf Coast. That is during the day on Friday into Friday night. Now, keep in mind, there will be snow on the ground in Louisiana. I'm going to show you that from satellite. Once that falls, we'll be able to see it, and we're going to save those images too, because that's a rare event for sure. But when will it warm up? That's when everybody's asking. Watch that cold air kind of move out. There's a little bit more cold air, but look at this. This is a rapid warm up by Monday. So a week from today, even less, over the weekend, temperatures will warm up significantly along the Gulf Coast, and you'll get back to your normal late January temperatures. But look what's going on here. We have cold air sandwiched between very warm air and then some more cold air coming in over Alaska. That's when they'll get back down to temperatures of 10 to 20 degrees below zero. But look at this. This is very fragmented and very evident of a fragmented jet stream that's really waving up and down. So as we put that into motion here, you can see that the warm air really does take over at the end of January. So we do get some warming trends in the East Coast. That'll happen starting this weekend, actually. And this is into Wednesday next week. So we'll see warmer temperatures. Doesn't mean it's not going to be cold or chilly, not going to be summertime warm, but just warmer temperatures here that we're used to seeing in January. And then most of the cold air outbreaks after that happen up towards Pennsylvania and northward, up towards Maine. There's a little bit of one that stretches through the mid-Atlantic, but that doesn't last either. And then look, the rest of the nation, the lower third of the nation, will be recovering in at least warmer temperatures, probably above average temperatures in February. Again, this is way out there. Look at that, 384 hours into the future. But large-scale weather patterns tend to be better forecast by models out to a longer range. Can't get down into any details that far, but it's still fantasy land. Look at the patterns in the atmosphere. It's really incredible to watch that cold air dive so far south. Now, I'm going to switch this over and I'm going to show you where the rain and the snow is going to be. This is the GFS model. This is the operational model for the National Weather Service. And I'm going to put this into motion here for tomorrow morning. And look at this low pressure system developing along the Gulf Coast tomorrow morning. And then we see a bit of ice along the coast and then snow. As a matter of fact, let me change the regions here to the southeast part so you can see really closer what's going on. Here's South Texas. Here's over to Louisiana and over to Mississippi and Alabama. So as I put this into motion, you can see what happens with this snow. Look at this. So we have ice along the coast and snow, and then this is heavy snow. Heavy snow bands extending from Houston all the way to Baton Rouge, and that could set up some additional snow bands across New Orleans. This is really quite a scene here in this model data and this model forecast. Very heavy rain and storms in the Gulf of Mexico, but heavy snow along Louisiana. And that's going to have impact all the way. This is Tuesday night, tomorrow night, snowing heavily in Mobile, snowing heavily in southern Mississippi. So Long Beach there, Biloxi, really taking it on the chin with snow. No snow plows are in the area. I think some states are sharing snow plows. Arkansas is sending some into Louisiana, and that's going to be helpful. But I'm afraid the major roads are going to be closed. Do not attempt, repeat, do not attempt to drive on any snow or ice-covered roads. It's difficult enough to do it in the mid-Atlantic and the northern part of the U.S., but when you haven't had any experience, don't go out for any joy rides because you won't come back with a car. It's either going to be off the road or you're going to smash it up. You don't need that. This is definitely good advice. Now, watch as we head on into Wednesday morning early. This is 1 to 2 o'clock in the morning. We're talking about potential ice accretion on the wires in Jacksonville, Florida, on up into southeast Georgia, Savannah, and into coastal South Carolina. It won't be long-lived, but if it persists with that precipitation, it could bring some power lines down or interrupt power in these areas. And then look at this, snow on the backside of this coming through Tallahassee and up into southeastern Georgia and into South Carolina. So we could have accumulations of perhaps an inch, maybe 2 inches in some of these areas, and then a switch over to ice. Ice is our worst enemy. It looks like the road is wet, but it could be solid ice. You have zero traction. Transportation will come to a halt in any areas along the Gulf Coast here that are impacted by freezing rain. So then it moves off pretty quickly. Look at this. By 7 a.m., 8 a.m. Wednesday, it's off the coast, and now it continues to push away. There's some residual, perhaps, snow showers, and that is on Friday morning in parts of eastern North Carolina. Shouldn't cause any problem there. We'll be monitoring it and making sure if it has any other larger impacts to critical infrastructure, we'll let you know. This is what you want to do if you encounter any snow in Texas or the Gulf Coast states, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida. Stay off the roads. Just stay off of them during the snow. It's no time to go out there and try to see how your car will handle the snow. If you must drive, go very, very slow. Keep a great distance between any other car and yourself. And if you see any trucks out there, any snow plows that are being borrowed from other states, stay away from them. They can throw ice and snow right up on your car, and that is not a good thing. Also, have an emergency kit with you. That emergency kit is going to prove very helpful if you get stuck on the road. Now, your pets. Please make sure you take care of your pets. Keep them warm and dry. They do have to go out. Keep them out for a limited amount of time. They will get ice and snow in their paws, and they'll be licking their paws. When you bring them inside, clean out their paws very gently with a towel. That will help them stop licking and perhaps getting either road salt or things like that in between their paws. Give them plenty of food and water to drink. And when you're outside, keep them bundled up. You may not have a jacket for your dog, but if you do, don't take your pet outside unless they're bundled up. They get cold just like you do, especially dogs that live in the South. They are not ready for this kind of storm. So after the winter storm happens, you may experience power outages. If you do have a power outage, be careful with heat sources. Make sure that candles and space heaters they are a fire risk, so use them very minimally. With a space heater, keep it away from the walls. Portable generator safety. That is really important. If you have to start up a generator, make sure it's well away from your house, at least 20 feet away from doors and windows and the garage to avoid carbon monoxide poisoning. Also, check on neighbors. Once your family is safe, please check on your neighbors. Not only do they appreciate it, they may need your help, but they may be too scared or too afraid, or they just don't want to bother you. Please check on your neighbors. Okay, staying warm. What happens if power goes out in your home? You want to close blinds or curtains to keep in some heat. Close off rooms to avoid wasting heat. If you're not spending time in a room, close the doors. There's no need to heat them because you want to conserve that heat in the house. Wear layers of loose clothing in your house. That will help to keep you warm. Eat, drink. Food provides energy to warm the body, and avoid caffeine and alcohol. Alcohol makes your body temperature go down, and you'll be colder much quicker if you drink alcohol. Also, stuff towels or rags in cracks or under the doors. That'll keep cold breezes from coming in to your house. Okay, frostbite and hypothermia. I know this sounds strange, but when you're in the southern states, you may not be able to identify what frostbite and hypothermia are. If someone might have frostbite or hypothermia, you want to seek medical attention quickly. And here's some things that you want to do. Get to a warm area. How might you get hypothermia? If you want to go out for a walk in the snow and you stay out there too long, you feel too cold, you don't have the proper clothing on, you could get hypothermia. Remove any wet clothing that you might have on. Warm up with dry layers of blankets or clothing. Do not use fireplaces or warm water to warm up your hands. If you have hypothermia or some frostbite, that is not a good thing to do. You could damage your hands. Do not rub or put pressure on areas with frostbite either. So place skin affected by frostbite in warm water, not hot. Just room warm temperature water, not hot water. Ice storms, they are the worst. If you can, trim any weak or damaged branches around your home. You have time to do this in northern Florida. If you have any weak branches that are overhanging your house, you might want to trim those off before any freezing rain arrives. Don't leave your vehicle wipers raised. You may see that where people raise their windshield wipers and leave them vertical because freezing rain can get into the mechanism for the windshield wipers, and it can damage them when you put those back down. Leave them down and start your car and put it on defrost mode so it can just melt gradually off of your windshield wipers. Have a week's worth of food and prescriptions, and don't park your car under trees. That could cause damage if a tree limb breaks. Keep all your devices charged as well. Make sure you all have your devices charged in case you do lose power. Now, freezing rain. Freezing rain is the worst. Freezing rain is more dangerous than snow. Ice can form on the pavement, and you can't see it. It looks like wet black pavement. That's why it's called black ice. Watch out for falling branches and use extreme caution if you need to travel during these conditions. So why do bridges freeze first before the rest of the road? Well, there's no ground underneath a bridge, so it's freely able to cool as cold air moves in. So you have cooling from underneath and cooling from above, so the bridges freeze much more quickly. It's not uniform either. You'll have patches of ice, so that's why you don't really want to be out driving. It might look like a little patch of wet road, but it could be ice, and it sends you out of control. Slow down before a bridge if you have to go over it, and creep across it because it could be ice. Now, Don't let black ice sneak up on you. Black ice can form on any road, but also along curbs and drainage areas due to melting snow on the corners of your steps, where the steps go to the next step. It could be very slippery. You don't want to be walking on a pavement that has freezing rain on it. You'll go straight down, and that's how you can get seriously hurt. Use caution driving during freezing temperatures. Usually in the east, where they can treat roads with salt, freezing rain won't melt on the road unless the road is below 22 degrees. But in other areas that aren't treated, it will freeze instantly. And that means you can fall right down the steps and cause serious damage to yourself. Getting traction, tips for winter weather. You need to check the Weather Service forecast, your local Weather Service office. Check road conditions. Stay mobile. You don't want to stop and slide off the side of the road. That's where you need your winter safety kit, winterize, and have an emergency supply kit in your car if you're going to go out. Sounds crazy, but in the South now, you're going to get a winter storm. These are all the things that we have in the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast and the northern part of the United States. We have winter emergency supply kits on track. Those of you who think the truck will be able to handle everything, it's not true. Even though you have a truck, it can't handle ice on the road. That is going to send your truck right off the side of the road into a ditch, and you may not have a nice truck anymore. So even four-wheel drive vehicles can lose traction in bad weather. All vehicles are susceptible to ice and snow. Please know your limits. And those of you that get snow, if you get 4, 5, 6 inches of snow, 2 or 3 inches of snow, thank you for removing the snow off of your vehicle before you drive. Because if you're driving down the highway and that snow or ice flies off the vehicle, it's going to hit the windshield and the driver behind you. It could crack their windshield and send them into a tailspin and into an accident. Please remove the snow from your vehicle. That's including you, truck drivers. Anybody transporting goods or services, please clean off the tops of your trucks. It can make zero visibility behind you, or the ice flies off and hits the car behind you and causes serious damage. So please remove it. Don't use your scraper to remove snow from your vehicle. That will scratch your car. Use a broom. Get that off of your hood and off of your roof. Use a scraper if you have one on your windshield and windows only. So it looks like we're in for a rock and roll kind of couple of days. We'll be back tomorrow with another update. Thanks so much for watching this one. Again, watch out for yourself. Do not go outside if you don't have to. Dangerously cold in the Midwest. That means wind chills of 40 to 50 below zero. Dangerously cold with snow and ice along the Gulf Coast. Don't go out tomorrow. If you can stay in, please do. And in the East Coast and the Northeast, dangerously cold wind chills. Don't go out if you don't need to. Remember, protect the pets. They are just like little humans with 4 legs. They get cold when you get cold, and they get ice and snow between their paws. We don't, but we do get ice and snow in our gloves, and that can be very cold. Thanks so much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow. I appreciate you paying attention to this. It's been an update for the All Hazards Consortium and the Sensitive Information Sharing Environment. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll see you then.